Part 34. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 346. As soon as it arrives. Your name is Zhong Hongying, right? Zhou Mikang looked at Zhong Hongying calmly and confirmed. Yes, thinking that her words had worked, Zhong Hongying was both happy and bitter. The happy thing was that the goal was about to be achieved, and the bitter thing was that Lin Chuxia was so valued by team leader Zhou. If the lucky person was Luo Xiaoxian, she might not be so pantothenic. Why would it be Lin Chuxia? Zhou Mikang dialed the number of 401 hospital in front of Zhong Hongying, and transferred to Song Yankai, and Song, please ask Chu Xia to answer the phone. Zhong Hongying's face turned pale, and she really wanted to go forward and hang up the phone forcibly, but she knew that if she really did that, Zhou Mikang would shoot her dead, and that would be all right. Lu Lianbao had been paying attention to Zhong Hongying's face, and now he sighed and shook his head. At that time, why did he like her so much? Chu Xia just came back from dinner and was chatting with Wang Yan. Hearing Song Yankai call her to answer the phone, he felt a little flustered. Zhou Mikang is not the kind of meek and selfish person. If she is looking for her at this time, it could be something happened to her parents. Son. Or was he in a hurry to leave? Or something happened to the Zhou family. In short, it was only a few steps away from her desk to Song Yankai's desk, and thoughts ran through her mind. Hey, what's the matter? What's wrong with you? Zhou Mikang frowned. He was obviously fine when we left in the morning, so why does he sound weak now? After being taken aback for a while, Chu Xia understood, and hurriedly said, I'm fine. I'm worried that you'll call now. Is something serious going to happen again? Zhong Hongying is your fellow villager, right? Yes. You asked her to beg me, Zhou Mikang asked the sentence. Deliberately looking at Zhong Hongying, actually. When he dialed the phone, he had already seen the drastic change in the other party's expression, but he was born to embarrass her even more. He dared to talk about his little wife. He really thought his face was too good looking, so he let her look better. Please, why? After Chu Xia asked reflexively, she immediately realized, oh, I don't know her very well. We don't have a good relationship. She always laughed at me before. Why should I ask her to beg you? You don't know her well, you don't have a good relationship, and she still laughs at you, Zhou Mikang repeated deliberately. Yes. Her mother also went to my house all day to laugh at my mother and make her angry. Anyway, I don't like her, so you are not allowed to help her. Okay. I see. Zhou Mikang hung up the phone and looked at Zhong Hongying, who had an earthy face. Is it fun to deceive the leader? No. No, Zhong Hongying's lips trembled and she couldn't utter a complete sentence, so she grabbed Lu Lianbao's sleeve and shook it vigorously. Lu Lianbao tugged back his sleeves. It's unexpected. You can do such a thing. He said and looked at Zhou Mikang, leader, I'm sorry. Zhou Mikang waved his hand at him, this matter has nothing to do with you. Go back, Zhong Hongying. You have been expelled from the army, go back and pack your luggage. I will let your company commander handle the formalities for you. Zhong Hongying held Lu Lianbao tightly to prevent him from leaving, and looked at Zhou Mikang, Teacher Zhou, please give me another chance. I promise, I will train hard and strive to serve the country as soon as possible. Zhou Mikang looked at her coldly, don't put such a big hat on yourself. Do you want me to send someone to pull you out, or go out by yourself? As soon as her legs softened, Zhong Hongying hung on Lu Lianbao's body. How could she become like this all of a sudden? If she goes back like this, what face will she have in the future? Let alone being expelled from home without getting married, that is definitely not something she can bear. If she had known this, she would rather just not get married. Lianbao, I was wrong, I know I was wrong, please help me beg Captain Zhou to let me stay, I will wait for you, I will get married after you come back from the mission. I know, I'm vain, and it's wrong for me to be narrow-minded, but the letter was written home, the dowry was prepared, and relatives also notified. If the wedding was cancelled suddenly, I would be ashamed to go back to the village. I admit that I am vain. I was afraid that people in the village would look down on me, so I did such an irrational thing. Now I regret it to death. Head, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I went to the hospital this morning to beg Chusia, but she refused me. She said she has no right to interfere with your work, she won't help me. But I was on the edge of a dead end at the time, and felt that if I didn't get married, I would have no face to see my comrades in arms, my relatives and friends. The more I thought about it, the more scared I became. When I was desperate, I thought of it and begged you. I thought it was a good thing for me to marry Lian Bao, and you would definitely support me, but I didn't expect that you would let him decide for himself. I really have no other choice, so I moved out of Chuxia. I hope you can forgive me, leader. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Please, give me a chance. If you really fire me, probably, I will only have a dead end. Are you threatening me? Zhou Mikang squinted at her. You think I'm the one who will be threatened? I dare not. I mean it. Zhou Hongying's eyes were full of despair. For me, if I really can't get married and get fired, then I would rather choose to die. After all, they fell in love. Such a helpless Zhou Hongying made Lu Lianbao feel very uncomfortable, so he looked at Zhou Mikang and begged, "Leader, can you let me talk to her? Talking is a matter between you, and I will not interfere." Zhou Mikang picked up the phone while talking. "Help me transfer to the female soldier company." "Let's go." Lu Lianbao pulled Zhou Hongying out. "No. I won't go." Zhou Hongying pulled him firmly. "I ask the leader to forgive me, I don't want to go. If I knew today, why bother?" Lu Lianbao forcibly dragged her out, and dragged her to a secluded corner. "I have been with the regiment commander for several years, and he hates his soldiers playing tricks and lying. If one can stay, it is useless for anyone to intercede. If you continue to ask, the result will not change in any way, and it will make the leader even more angry. You go home by yourself, or you go home under escort, which one do you choose?" Zhou Hongying was stunned for a moment, and was escorted home. That was beyond her imagination. Why, every time she thought the situation was the worst, she found that it could be worse. "You are too vain, and you can't bear any setbacks and failures. How can you do this?" Lu Lianbao sighed again. "Actually, if you don't come to make trouble, be your soldier well, and when I return from a mission, it is still possible marry you, but you have to make things get out of hand step by step. You said, if you don't get married, and you can't be a soldier, you would rather die. How can you be so cowardly?" "Zhou Hongying, I really think now, I think you are too wrong. If..." Zhou Hongying stared straight at Lu Lianbao. "I mean, if I change jobs and go home, will you marry me?" "Why do you have to marry me?" Lu Lianbao looked at her fixedly. "Is it out of vanity, or do you really like me?" Both Zhou Hongying looked at him seriously. "I really have feelings for you. Okay, as long as you are willing to obey the leader's arrangement, after I return from my mission, if there is still fate, we will be together. Do you think that if there is a better family, I will kick you out immediately and marry you? Isn't it?" Lu Lianbao sighed softly. "Haven't you already done this once?" Zhou Hongying was taken aback for a moment, and then surprise appeared in her eyes. "You didn't marry me because of Luo Hunky? Isn't that right? There is a certain relationship, but it is not absolute. I admit, I'm sorry for Luo Hunky, but I'm with him, and I'm with you. It's definitely not the same thing." Luo Hongying then told Lu Lianbao that her mother and aunt secretly wanted to marry her to a village cotter who was much older than her. She said that she chose Luo Hunky because she was forced to have no other choice. Under the circumstances at that time, she really had no other choice except Luo Hunky, but she really liked him because she really liked him. What do you like about me? Lu Lianbao frowned and looked at her. When I expressed my love to you, you probably didn't know me. Although I don't know you well, the fact that you are able to achieve this position at this age shows that you are an excellent soldier. I have admired soldiers since I was a child, and I admire excellent soldiers even more. It is my responsibility to marry an excellent soldier. Since childhood, I have no reason not to like you, and I have no reason not to agree to you. 5 minutes later, Lu Lianbao appeared in Zhou Mikang's office again. This time, Zhou Hongying did not follow, and Zhou Mikang glanced at him lightly. Please. No. Lu Lianbao quickly shook his head. Leader, I want to show my attitude. I have already promised her that I will marry her when I come back. Zhou Mikang just stared at him without speaking. Team leader. Lu Lianbao looked stiff. I don't feel wronged by marrying her. She is several years younger than me, and she looks good looking. I really don't feel wronged at all to marry her. Lu Lianbao, marriage is not a child's play. I know. Lu Lianbao looked serious. I don't want to marry her. One is because of her vanity, and the other is because she dumped Luo Hunky for no reason. But just now I found out that she agreed to date Luo Hunky at that time because it was a stopgap measure to avoid an arranged marriage. Even if she doesn't know me, she won't be able to be with Luo Hunky after she enlists in the army. As for her vanity, I also want to understand it. It's because everyone has emptiness, but it's just a matter of lightness and weight. Although she is narrow-minded, she is not harmful to anyone. As long as she is willing to live a good life, she will be a good daughter-in-law with her personality. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 347. The second watch arrives. Lu Lianbao, I won't know about you. Zhou Mikang stared at Lu Lianbao and solemnly emphasized. I never thought about letting the group leader know my feelings. I just do things according to my own heart. Lu Lianbao looked serious. I promise, what I want to do now is what I really want to do. Zhou Hongying, who was waiting outside, felt a little recollected at this moment. Is the head of the group avenging his personal revenge? She lied to him that she was entrusted by Chu Xia to ask for help, but is it a private matter to be entrusted by Chu Xia? When she reached the door, she took a step back and stopped. If she went in and argued, would things get more and more out of hand? Lu Lianbao had already promised to marry her when she returned from a mission. If Zhou Hongying, what are you doing here? The loud voice of inquiry made Zhou Hongying tremble in fright. When she looked up, it was Yu Lianying, the company commander of the female soldier company. Quickly stood up straight and saluted. Good morning, company commander. Yu Lianying was about 1.7 meters tall, with a strong physique and a dark complexion. If she didn't make a sound, she could really be regarded as a man. Lu Lianbao came out and smiled at Yu Lianying. The head let you in. He turned to look at Zhou Hongying. Let's go. Lianbao. After walking for a while, Zhou Hongying said hesitantly, isn't the head of the group avenging himself by doing this? You still want to make trouble? Lu Lianbao frowned tightly. If you want to make trouble, I won't stop you. No, no, Zhou Hongying waved her hands again and again. I don't want to make a fuss, I just don't understand this matter. If I want to make a fuss, I rushed in just now. Hearing the grievance in her heart, Lu Lianbao sighed heavily. Do you feel wronged? A little bit. I just want to live a good life. I don't want others to laugh at me. Why, there are always things that don't go well. You may not like to hear about Lin Chuxia's shortcomings, but I really think so. When I was in my hometown, she and I were two extremes. But why, suddenly, she and I became people in two worlds? If she relied on her own ability, I wouldn't say anything. However, she is the laziest and least fond of work. You can go to our village to inquire about what I said. If I frame her with half a sentence, I will never be able to marry in my life. Originally, I didn't like her talking about Chusia like that. But hearing her heavy vows, Lulianbao secretly sighed. She really got into a dead end. What does it mean to be capable, tell me? Diligence, filial piety, being able to be ahead in everything, at least these points must be possessed. Is Lin Chuxia not filial? I was not filial before. Don't worry about the past, it's about the present. Filial piety. Isn't she diligent? I was not diligent before. Now I don't know. Then it's over, you don't even know, why are you denying her? She used to be young. Some things must be done differently than now. And you are several years older than her. Naturally, I always look at her with the eyes of a child, just like I treat you. Also like this. Otherwise, based on the mistakes you made this time, it is impossible for me to forgive you, and it is impossible for me to promise you to marry you when I come back. Zhong Hongying, as I said, I don't like your vanity the most. People should save face, but if you want face too much, it will be hard for yourself and others. To put it bluntly, you are jealous of Lin Chuxia. You think that you are better than her in everything, but in the end, compared with her now, you are far behind. But in fact, where are you better than her? As far as I know, although Lin Chuxia is not very good in physical strength, she is very good in culture and courage. When she was a cadet of the medical team, when she was eating in the cafeteria, a comrade in arms got stuck in his throat when he was eating in a hurry. If she hadn't been quick-witted, that comrade in arms might have had a tracheotomy for treatment. Judging whether a person is capable is not just based on physical strength. She is a medical soldier, and judging her ability depends on whether she has the talent to learn medicine, and whether she has the courage and quick wit of a doctor. As for the fact that she was not as good as you in everything when I was in my hometown, that is just from your point of view, or if you say that others say the same, it is because everyone judges from the aspect of physical labor, but this is comparing her weaknesses with your strengths. Isn't she inferior to you in every way? As for other aspects, I don't want to express too many opinions, but the leader is a person who has gone through a lot of things. I believe that he will not misjudge people. What you did today violated his taboo, so although your cheating on him is considered a private matter, it means that your character is problematic. If you still can't figure it out and insist on digging into a dead end, then you must be the one who bumped into it in the end. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Now, in the office, Yuliana Ying expressed her shock at Zhou Mikang's decision. She suppressed her fear of Zhou Mikang and asked, "Head, what mistake did Zhong Hongying make? Her training results are very good. I also plan to promote her as monitor." Zhou Mikang stared at her lightly. "Is your character good?" Character, Yuliana Ying stopped talking, because she planned to promote Zhong Hongying, but she talked to several comrades in arms, but no one said she was good. Originally, she thought it was jealousy, but now that Zhou Mikang asked this, she was not sure. The head of the team had seen countless people, so he shouldn't be wronged, right? Zhou Mikang waved his hand. "Do as I tell you." "Yes," Yuliana Ying responded, and quickly retreated out. Zhong Hongying's discharge procedures were completed very quickly. After an hour and a half, she was sent to the station by Lulianbao. Lulianbao bought her the train ticket. Holding the small hard paper shell, the tears on Zhong Hongying's face fell like broken beads. Zhou Mikang took care of her face, but ordered her to retire from the army, but did not give her a note. "Will not leave any stains." The argument about being discharged from the army is that he failed the recruiting period. This kind of situation is very common, so whether she went back because she failed the training, or because she made a mistake, as long as she doesn't tell, Lin Chuxia and Luo Xiaoxiang don't say, the people in the village are unknown. She believed that Zhou Mikang would definitely tell Lin Chuxia about this, and Lin Chuxia would definitely tell Luo Xiaoxiang. Based on her current relationship with Lin Chuxia and Luo Xiaoxian, it is estimated that she cannot ask them to help keep it secret, so she is not sure when she will become the laughing stock of the villagers. You said that your brother likes Zhang Erniu, and Zhang Erniu also likes your brother. Luo Xiaoxian went to Chu Xia as soon as she returned to the hospital in the afternoon, and reported the latest news she had learned to him. Chu Xia's eyes widened in shock. Circle, repeated several times with her. That's my brother, can I make fun of this? Luo Xiaoxian was unhappy after being checked over and over again by Chu Xia. Am I so unreliable in your heart? Can't you even see such a little thing? Chu Xia smiled embarrassedly. It's not that I don't believe you, it's that I don't believe that your brother has moved on so quickly. I thought he would recover for at least a year or so. Which one looks better in my brother's eyes, you or Zhang Erniu? Thinking of her brother's aesthetics, Luo Xiaoxian couldn't help laughing again. Are you? Chu Xia poked her. Your brother must think Niu is pretty, otherwise, how could he fall in love so quickly? You can see that since he was a child, he has disliked me since he was a child, and rolled his eyes at me when he has nothing to do. If he really looked at me well, could he treat me like that? Every flower is in every eye. When Luo Xiaoxian said this, Zhao Qian's shadow immediately appeared in Luo Xiaoxian's mind. Thinking of Zhao Qian's narcissism, she suddenly realized, Chu Xia, now I finally understand the idea of every flower in each eye. That's funny, you see, Zhao Qian always thought she was good looking, that is to say, what she liked was people who looked like herself. I finally figured it out. I was always wondering where her confidence came from. It turned out that it was like this. No, I don't look like your brother, right? Does that mean that he doesn't like me, and I don't like him, and we will separate in the future, each looking for someone he likes? Chu Xia looked at her with black hair. You mean, I look like Zhou Mikang? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 348. Just one update today, Nuan needs to make some adjustments, I'm too tired. Chuxia, you mean, you like the leader of the previous week. Luo Xiaoxian's eyes were round and round, her tongue was knotted, and it took a long time to say a word neatly. Chu Xia rolled her eyes at her. When did I say I fell in love with him? Also, even if I really fell in love with him, you don't have to act like this. Is it so incredible that I like him? You. Chu Xia slapped her with a slap. Let's talk after smoothing the breath. Didn't you say that you don't like him, you were forced to marry him only because of him? How long has it been before you changed your mind, or? Luo Xiaoxian pointed at Chu Xia with a dazed expression. Are you lying to me? I did not lie to you. Then you are lying to yourself. Just now I said that the person I like looks alike, but you just said that I mean you and Zhou Mikang look alike. If you didn't like him, would you say that? Chu Xia. Can we not be so serious? Luo Xiaoxian stared straight at Chu Xia for a while, then poked two fingers together with a wicked smile. Have you already? Guess. Chu Xia pouted at her, turned and walked to the office. Hey. Luo Xiaoxian grabbed her anxiously. Don't go, I haven't finished talking yet. Assistant Luo, I'm still at work. Chu Xia pointed to the watch on his wrist. If you have anything to say, wait until I get off work. Luo Xiaoxian tugged at her and didn't let go. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with Director Song, and you asked her for leave too. Just chat with me, I just have something on my mind that I can't figure out. That's why I hurried back. Otherwise, I would have dinner with my brother tonight. Chu Xia laughed and teased her, with your brother or with my brother? Okay, It's with the two brothers, is this okay? Luo Xiaoxian glanced back and forth, and then dragged Chu Xia to the corner, before saying, do you think I have changed? Where do you mean? Based on what you mean, I really have changed. Luo Xiaoxian's eyes widened. In any case, tell me about the changes you've discovered in me. What stimulated you? Chu Xia looked at Luo Xiaoxian suspiciously. What did my brother say about you? Don't ask, just tell me what you think has changed in me. Luo Xiaoxian continued to be stubborn. Compared with before, you are more generous and organized in speaking and doing things now. That's it? What else do you want? Chu Xia looked her up and down. Do you want me to praise you or want me to demote you? I can satisfy your request. I'm not joking with you, Chu Xia. I found out suddenly, and you know, I liked your brother first, and I chased him. When I learned that he was willing to be engaged to me, I was so happy that I didn't even know who I was anymore. On the day I received the notice of enlistment, I was so excited that I didn't fall asleep all night. Because from now on, I can see him often now, and I don't have to worry that he will be spotted by the leader's daughter or sister or other relatives. Snatched away. When I first came to the army, the first thing I wanted to do was to see him. It was only 10 days since we parted with him, but it felt like a long time. Every time I see him, my heart beats faster. He smiles at me, and I can be happy for a long time, but now I don't have this feeling. Since when it didn't exist, I don't know. Could it be that I really lost that feeling because I became an assistant to the dean and my mentality changed? Does that mean I'm a bad woman? Does it mean that Zhong Hongying and I are fundamentally the same? Chu Xia, don't you think so? Chu Xia sighed helplessly. The reason why you came back in such a hurry is because you can't figure it out. Yeah, I'm getting impatient and casual with Zhaoqi Liang. I don't know if it's because we have changed from love to family, or I don't love him anymore. I can't ask others about this, so I have to ask you. Chu Xia, you and Captain Zhou have been together for so long, can you tell me how you feel about him? Let me compare and find out my own problems. You don't need to compare. Your problem is that you are looking for something when you have nothing to do. Chu Xia gave her a white look. Forget it, I won't reason with you, I will ask you, knowing that my brother is going to go on a mission, your first reaction, what is it? I'm going to find him, and stop having conflicts with him, and I can't let him go away in a fit of anger. Anything else? Scared, very afraid that I will never see him again. It's over. If you don't like him, how can you be afraid? Luo Xiaoxian scratched her head, with a troubled expression on her face. At least I've liked it for so long, and he hasn't done anything wrong. Even if he doesn't like it, he should be afraid, right? If you don't like it, you will only be worried, but you will not be afraid. The fear is because you subconsciously feel that losing her is something you can't bear. If it's an ordinary friend, or someone you don't like, you can't bear to lose him. This principle is equivalent to that when someone who has a normal relationship with you is sick, you will worry, but you will not panic and be afraid, understand? After being silent for a long time, Luo Xiaoxian smiled relievedly. Chu Xia, thank you. Chu Xia rolled her eyes at her. You stupid, what are you doing? It's not vain, but thank you for saving me face. In fact, you have already seen that my mood is more irritable than before, but you didn't look down on me, and you helped me find so many reasons. Thank you, sincerely. This time, it was Chu Xia's turn to be surprised. She could indeed see that Luo Xiaoxian was a little restless during this time. After all, a young girl with great opportunities, climbing too fast, and hearing too many flattering voices will inevitably feel a little swollen. If she hadn't grown up in such a family, or maybe she would be in a high spirits now. There is a process in the growth of a person. She doesn't want to backfire. When the other party is not aware of it, her persuasion may not really work. And she didn't tell the truth just now because she didn't want to make her feel guilty at this time. But he didn't expect that she would be so clever, and he understood her intentions. From now on, whoever says that straight-hearted people are stupid, she will be in a hurry. Actually, After a pause, Josei continued, I already know that the dean chose me as an assistant not because he really liked me, but because of you. Me? Chusya pointed at herself suspiciously, why is it because of me? She obviously caught your eye and forced you to transfer there. What does it have to do with me? Hey, Josei sighed solemnly, Dean Su met us at the base that day, it was intentional at all. If I didn't help her at that time, she would use other methods to interact with me later, and finally put me in the same place. Received under his command. It's not that I'm really as good as she said, but that she was entrusted by your mother-in-law to transfer me away from your side. Because at that time, the relationship between Head Joe and you was still unclear, and your mother-in-law hoped that you could accept him more quickly if you didn't have a document. In early summer, when I first heard the news, I was very disappointed. I thought I was really good, but in the end, it turned out like this. I wanted to talk to you, but I didn't have the courage. Of course, I didn't mean to blame you at all. On the contrary, I was very sorry for you, thinking that your mother-in-law was too bullying. Now if it weren't for seeing how well you and Captain Joe are getting along, I wouldn't have said it. In a word, your mother-in-law made you too, and it was for your own good. But she didn't feel sorry for me. She made an agreement with Dean Su that she must make proper arrangements for me. Chusya, if it weren't for you, I might just be like Jong Erniu, an intern nurse. Everything I do now is thanks to you. Before, I didn't want to think about it. It seemed that if I didn't want to, things wouldn't exist, so I could continue to feel good about myself. However, my heart has always been depressed, and with it, my attitude towards your brother is not good. To put it bluntly, I just want to vent my anger on him. I couldn't figure it out at the time, it was just that I didn't like him anymore, but after you said that just now, I realized that it wasn't that I didn't like him anymore, but that he had become my most trusted and closest person, one of the people. When I couldn't get angry at you and vent my anger on you, I passed these emotions on to him, but I didn't dare to think about it at the time, so I couldn't figure it out. Now, I understand. Damn, you lied to me. Chusya was so angry that she punched her. You even pretended to discuss relationship issues with me. After a long time, I understood everything. No, Josei didn't hide, just smiled wryly, I just understood it, before, I really didn't understand it. It was like a flash of inspiration, and I understood it all at once. Chusya, thank you, I have passed this hurdle, and in the future, I will not be in a corner again. One day, everything I get will be directly proportional to my hard work, and Dean Su will also feel that although it is forcibly entrusted by others, it is worth it. Okay, don't sing high-profile things with me, go to my brother and explain it to me, I guess he is also in a state of agitation, let him go like this, how can you bear it? Flash. Chusya stared speechlessly at Josei who ran away like a hot wheel, stroked his forehead, and fell into deep thought. She never thought that the truth of Zioxian's transfer to 401 turned out to be like this. She didn't know whether Joe Mikang knew about her mother-in-law's tricks. After get off work, Joe Mikang came to pick her up and got in the car. She stared at him from time to time, looked him up and down, and finally, a certain person couldn't stand it any longer and glanced at her. What's wrong? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 349. As soon as it arrives. Are you guilty? Chusya pouted and sat upright, no longer staring at Joe Mikang. Why was Zioxian transferred to 401? Joe Mikang's expression didn't change at all. I can't tell, but that kid is quite responsible. What do you mean? Chu Xia looked at him inexplicably. What does this have to do with responsibility? What would you do if you thought you had worked hard to get the position, but found out that it was taken advantage of by others? After a little thought, Chu Xia understood Zhou Mikang's meaning, and rolled his eyes at him disdainfully. You have already taken advantage of it, why don't you do it? Why are you guilty? You deserve it. If you want to be guilty, you are guilty. Okay, I underestimated people. Zhou Mikang just laughed. Luo Xiaoxian has no plans to transfer, does she? Why did you transfer? Chu Xia glared at him. You have achieved your goal, and you want to kick her back to her original position. I said, you can't be so unkind, you will be punished. Zhou Mikang's eyes were full of black lines. Can we not be so hasty to draw conclusions? My mother decided to discuss this matter first, and when I knew it, she had already transferred it with Aunt Su. When I asked Aunt Su for help, my mother said hello to Aunt Su. Regardless of whether Luo Xiaoxian is qualified or not, she cannot be downgraded. When she retires, arrange a leisurely and decent job for her. What my mother is most worried about now is that after Luo Xiaoxian knows the truth, her self-esteem can't bear it and asks for a transfer. He was talking to me about this a few days ago. If you don't believe me, you can go back and ask her. I don't ask. Chu Xia snorted. Your family is really domineering. I was thinking, if I keep gritting my teeth and refusing to agree, will your family be able to force me into a corner? Have to marry you? No, Zhou Mikang shook his head. At most, it can move you so much that you have to marry me, but the result is the same. You can only be my wife in this life. Chu Xia. Let Luo Xiaoxian not have any psychological burden. Even if her going to 401 had nothing to do with ability at first, she can stay with Aunt Su now. It is definitely the result of her personal efforts. Aunt Su is very satisfied with her. She called our mother a few days ago and said that our mother found her a capable and smart assistant, who is better than Xiao Miao who went earlier. We're not stupid. Chu Xia rolled his eyes at him again. Don't worry, Xiaoxian won't ask for a job transfer. We won't do stupid things that are fake and lofty. Zhou Mikang nodded suddenly. I forgot to be close to Zhu Jechi, and close to ink is dark. With you, how could she do such a stupid thing? What do you mean? Chu Xia twisted his arm and pulled hard. Do you mean I'm snobby? Don't you? Tell me the truth. Zhou Mikang just laughed. You are not snobbish, you know how to maximize your own interests. Moreover, you are determined not to suffer in vain. 2 dumplings. It is 20 caddies of food stamps and a chicken. Is there anyone better at killing people than you? Distressed, Chu Xia's big eyes glanced at his face. She curled her lips. It's too late to feel bad now, and you did it voluntarily, and I didn't force you, did I? I didn't say I regretted it. I'm not talking about this. How can a person who can do such a thing pretend to be noble? Luo Xiaoxian, and you are so good, how could it be possible that you will not be affected by you, right? Do you want to eat? Chu Xia squinted at him. Besides, if one is willing to fight and one is willing to suffer, I will see that you have no good intentions for me, otherwise I will open my mouth and ask for so much. Zhou Mikang turned his head and glanced at her. Now that we have become a family, do you regret treating me like that at the beginning? Chu Xia nodded vigorously. I regret it. Before the corner of Zhou Mikang's mouth hooked up, he said again, why did you only ask for 60 taels? I think you can give it to you if you ask for 120 taels. I look so stupid. Zhou Mikang stared at her speechlessly. You think I will really give you 120 taels if you want 120 taels? Enough is enough, you understand. Cut. Chu Xia pointed his middle finger at him. Can you say that you had no idea about me at that time? Go lie to the devil. When we first met, I felt that your personality was too similar to Xiao Rao, so I couldn't help but want to help you. In fact, after getting along for a while, I found that you are completely different. But I still satisfied your request. That's because you touched the softest part of my heart. Since I left from Xiaoluo, I have never felt pity for any girl. Then you. Chu Xia looked at him with some anxiety. Is it because of my sister-in-law complex, or did you really like me when you were with me? Well, I didn't mean to snoop on your penis on purpose. You said, we are already husband and wife, you have to let me know what is going on with you to me, right? I've said it all. As long as we get along, you will find that you are completely different from Xiao Rao. Zhou Mikang glared at her. Use your brain when you talk. What is a sister? If you really look like my sister, I'm still right. Can you do it? That's right. Chu Xia nodded earnestly. I really overlooked this point. I'm sorry. That means, you have fallen in love with me deeply, right? Zhou Mikang. Sorry to answer. Chu Xia poked him. What's so embarrassing? We are already husband and wife. Between husband and wife, communication are very important, and it is also very important to tell the truth when communicating. I want to hear your real thoughts. Lin Chuxia, can we not talk about this issue? Cannot. Zhou Mikang looked at his little wife helplessly. Didn't I say it before? Don't always worry about this kind of thing. No matter how much you say, it's not as meaningful as doing it. What do you think? Look carefully at the road. Chu Xia straightened his head. Even if there are fewer people and cars on the road, you can't do this. What if something happens? What a fuss! Zhou Mikang snorted through his nose. Even if I keep turning my head towards you, I will definitely drive the car safely. Do you think I am an ordinary person? It seems that I should find a place for you to see my driving skills. After the words fell, the car rushed out with a swoosh. Chu Xia was so frightened that he quickly locked the car door. Hey, you're crazy. Go home quickly. If I didn't go back in the morning, my parents must be worried. If I go back late at night, they will be so worried that they won't be able to eat. Fool. Zhou Mikang reached out to rub her head, and slightly released the accelerator. Chu Xia paid attention to the direction of walking, leaned on the back of the chair in peace of mind, glanced at him secretly, and deliberately said sourly, if you tell me what's in your heart, you won't dare to say it. Humph, I don't know what's hidden in my heart. What about ghosts? What's in your heart is not what you say every day. I'm a man, not a gossip. Zhou Mikang rubbed his head as he said, oh, you, don't be dissatisfied. Before, how could I have the habit of explaining? Since I met you, I have to explain everything to you clearly, but I really met my nemesis. I took this as a disguised confession. Chu Xia smiled and patted him on the arm. Don't be embarrassed, just say it if you have something to say. If you don't say it, who knows, right? Zhou Mikang smiled and shook his head without saying a word. In fact, he really wanted to ask, do you feel love for me now? However, when the words came to his lips, he swallowed them back. She was about to leave, and if he asked, she would definitely obey him more or less. Just like she would tell him such an important secret. If it wasn't for the many dangers of his leaving now, she would never say it anyway, or maybe she would never say it for the rest of her life. What he wanted was not the promise she made against her heart in order to make him feel at ease and worry about him. If you love him or not, you should ask him after he comes back. He must get her heart. But, he won't force her. He wants her to fall in love with him little by little, be proud of him, be proud of marrying him. Chu Xia is also struggling. He can see that Zhou Mikang is hesitant to speak. She likes his lack of pretense in front of her, but what she confessed at this time is too fake, so silence is golden. Fortunately, after a while, the car drove into the compound, and both of them breathed a sigh of relief. Are you scared with me? Are you nervous with me? The two spoke out almost at the same time, and then they all laughed. Looking at it now, We still have a tacit understanding, maybe we will be a loving couple, Chu Xia said solemnly. Zhou Mikang was already quite used to the occasional fuss in early summer, so he followed her words and said, for sure, I will be as loving as our father and mother. I love to hear that. My father and my mother are really a model couple. My father leaves everything to my mother. Anyway, I have never seen him and my mother say a word out loud. Are you warning me to let you do everything? Too smart. Chu Xia squeezed his eyes at him. You can teach a child. Zhou Mikang shook his head helplessly. I'm 9 years older than you, don't be too old or young. It's 6 years old. Chu Xia moved closer to him. Actually, it's 6 years old. What's the difference between 6 years old and 9 years old? Zhou Mikang's smile obviously deepened when he said that. Obviously, he preferred the 6-year-old gap. Ah, my father and mother have come outside and waited. Suddenly seeing Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe who were looking this way with their heads outstretched, Chu Xia anxiously patted Zhou Mikang's arm. Hurry up, my mother is waiting anxiously. After getting off the car in early summer, Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan ran up and held their daughter to look at her from left to right. Zhou Mikang smiled helplessly. Just like that, he had to insist on going back to his hometown. His father-in-law and mother-in-law. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 350. The second watch arrives. Dear friends, are you all asleep? Sweet dream, don't forget to subscribe to the original version and give us a ticket by the way. Being held by her parents to look at her, Chu Xia felt that her heart was twisted, and she was afraid that her old mother would see something. Although she thinks it's normal to be a husband and wife, she just thinks it's embarrassing to be seen by her mother. Father, mother, I left in a hurry this morning, so I didn't have time to say hello to you. How is Grandpa Wan today? Chu Xia said while dragging his father and mother to go inside. Go in and tell me, it's cold outside. Zhou Mikang thought for a while, and said, Father, mother, you and Chu Xia go in first. I will go home and tell my family that we will have dinner here tonight, so they don't wait. Is that appropriate? Lin Baohe hesitated. He didn't want to do anything that would be detrimental to his daughter. No matter how much he thought about his daughter, no matter how much he felt sorry for her, as long as it was related to her daughter's future status in the husband's family, he could do it. Calm down immediately. It's suitable. I'm going on a business trip in a few days, and I may be out for a long time. I should come and have a meal with my parents, Zhou Mikang said as he stepped into the car and drove out. Xiaomi is going on a business trip. Zhao Yulan looked at Chu Xia. Did you know about this? Chu Xia quickly nodded. Yes, mother, he told me. Don't worry, nothing will happen. It's just that the time to go out is longer. I didn't want to go back to my hometown with you. In this way, I won't be able to go for the time being. I'm very embarrassed. When we have dinner later, you can comfort him and don't let him go away worrying. The main thing is important. You can go home anytime. Don't be in a hurry. Lin Baohe looked at his daughter seriously. Xia, this is your fault. It's not like you don't know the temper of your parents. At that time, I told him clearly that my father and mother would not blame him at all for this matter. How can I do it when I am on a business trip with something on my mind? I don't want you to get in touch with each other, Chu Xia said while dragging the two of them inside. Stop standing outside, it's cold. Chu Xia is back. Seeing Chu Xia coming in, Elder Wan immediately had a smile on his face. I didn't come in this morning, your parents have been thinking about you all day. They are dead ducks with a stubborn mouth, and they shout all day long to go back. I haven't come here for a day, so I'm so worried, father, mother. If you really go back, can you still have the heart to live? Zhao Yulan couldn't help sighing. It's just going to be like that when I really go back. I'm mainly worried about any conflicts between you and your in-laws' family. Isn't this just married, so I'm afraid you won't be able to handle the relationship well. Chusia has been paying attention to the expression of his mother. Feeling that my mother should not have found out about the further relationship between her and Zhou Mikang, she was a little happy. What are you laughing at? Zhao Yulan suddenly looked her daughter up and down. I see what's wrong with your expression. When you call in, you peek at my face from time to time. Is there something you're hiding from me? The smile on Chusia's face froze. Is she too complacent? With an idea, he hurriedly said, there is a happy event today. Of course I am happy, father and mother. Luo Hunky has a girl he likes, and I think it will be successful. Are you happy? Isn't that child with Zhong Hongying? After being reminded by the old mother, Chusia realized that she had forgotten the most important thing. Father and mother, besides the happy event, there is one more thing you need to prepare for. She told about Zhong Hongying's expulsion and sent back to her hometown son. I told my parents again. That child still follows her mother in her heart, and her father is honest. Zhao Yulan couldn't help sighing. It's really hard to come out, and it's like this again. You are just worrying about it? She wants to harm our daughter. You are still there to feel sorry for her. Let me say, she deserves it, Lin Bao he said and looked at his daughter. Xia, don't worry, if Mrs. Zhong dares to come to our house nonsense, I'll beat her out. Chu Xia gave Lin Bao he a thumbs up, and then looked at Zhao Yulan with a smile. Mother, you have to learn from my father, being kind depends on the person you are looking for. Okay, both of you are right and I'm wrong. Okay, Zhao Yulan just smiled. I don't sympathize with her, I just think it's not easy for rural children to have this kind of opportunity. She, like her mother, is too greedy. It's too big, and in the end, I didn't catch anything. Her mother was pretty good when she was young, and when people introduced her to someone, she would pick and choose. Later, there was a guy who she liked. As for her, she needs to be top-notch in everything, and the bride price is 26 yuan, but she insists on 160 yuan. The man probably really fell in love with her, so he agreed, but she insisted on going further, and wanted a bicycle, a sewing machine, and a watch, and she couldn't do without any of them. These three things, most people have to be the same, and some people even don't have any of them, but she dared to open her mouth. As a result, the man's family was angered all of a sudden, and she immediately divorced her. She regretted it, so she turned around and begged, saying that she could ask for one of the three things, and the gift money could not be less. They didn't agree, and after a few days, she asked the matchmaker to say that she didn't want anything, only a gift money, but she didn't agree. She was bored at home for a few days, and she went to find it by herself, and said that the gift money could be halved, but unfortunately, they fell in love with a girl who was taller than her and had a good personality, and her marriage was completely ruined. It's strange to say that since then, every man she has been on a blind date with is not as good as the other. When she met Uncle Zhong, she was really scared. He agreed with one gulp. Your Uncle Zhong married her back home with 18 yuan. As for bicycles, you don't have anything. However, Uncle Zhong is capable and Zhong Hongying is sensible, so she didn't suffer too much. Ms. Zhong looks good. Chu Xia's face was incredulous, she couldn't imagine how good it could be with her dark freckles. Your Aunt Zhong didn't have those black fly droppings on her face before, it only grew after giving birth. When she was young, her face was white and her eyes were big, so she was very attractive, Zhao Yulan said and glanced at Lin Bao he. Did you like her like that when you were young? It's not rare. Lin Bao he shook his head without thinking. Don't wrong people. Chu Xia clicked twice. Mom, I really think my father is smart now. When you talk about him, he never argues with you. Just one sentence can make you feel comfortable, right? How can I be smart? Chu Xia, your father is so innocent and open-minded, Lin Bao he protested with wide-eyed eyes. He. Mr. Wan laughed. Bao, you are really smart. Of course, your smartness is not the same as what the world says is smart. You are really smart. Oh, Uncle Wan, don't embarrass me. Chu Xia sized up Lin Bao, sat next to Mr. Wan, lowered his voice, but it was a voice that Lin Bao could just hear. Grandpa, my father's face is really red. This child. Lin Bao looked helplessly at his daughter, who was more and more fond of bullying him, but suddenly found that his wife was staring at her daughter in a daze, so he poked her lightly. What's wrong? Chu Xia, who was smiling happily, blushed uncontrollably. She quickly got up and walked to the kitchen. What's for dinner tonight? Let's see what I can help. Hey, where's Mrs. Yin? Sister Yin's friend is here, she won't be back tonight, let's cook by ourselves. Zhao Yulan said as she entered the kitchen. Let's eat dumplings stuffed with cabbage tonight. I've already chopped the meat, and the noodles I've reconciled. Now chop cabbage. You go out to play chess with your grandfather, or play the piano for him. I just thought about it, if we leave, he will be alone here, alas. Chu Xia secretly heaved a sigh of relief, and was a little entangled in spurning herself. It seems that a person like her is really not suitable for lying. When something happens, she will lie first. By the way, Xia. Chu Xia walked to the door, and Zhao Yulan called her again. Your father and I plan to go back to our hometown in a week, and the house has already been cleaned up. By the way, your grandfather wrote to say that your second aunt will run away by herself. I went back and lost Qian. Originally, your second uncle didn't want her anymore, but her natal family didn't take her in, so she lived alone in the chop pile at the head of the village. Your second uncle relented and took her home again. Your second uncle wanted to come to see Qian a few days ago, but your grandpa and your grandma stopped him from coming, saying that he came, and ordered your husband's family to follow along. Mother, do you want me to help you find Qian? Chu Xia was a little unhappy. There was no doubt that Zhao Yulan loved her, but her soft and kind heart really gave her a headache. Just like Zhao Qian, she deserves what happens to her. Don't think she is ruthless. The other party knows what it will do to her, but wants to do it on purpose. What kind of soft heart does she have? The little white flower of the Virgin Mary? That's what she hates the most. Okay. No, mother won't let you help find her, and don't tell your husband's family. Just to remind you, she should still be in City A. If you meet her, be careful, that child has a bad heart. Thinking about her attitude just now, Chu Xia felt a little guilty, stepped forward and hugged Zhao Yulan's arm. Mom, I'm sorry, don't be angry with me. Zhao Yulan smiled and patted her. How could mother be angry with you? The fact that you miss mother so much means that mother gave you the impression that right and wrong were not distinguishable. Your father is right. Mother has a bad problem and needs to correct it in the future. In the early summer, she immediately felt sour and swollen. God treated her so well. With such a pair of parents, let alone this era, she recognized it even in ancient times. The whole family had a happy dinner, and Mr. Wan was both happy and melancholy. When chatting, he couldn't help feeling, you are all gone, how can I survive by myself? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 351. As soon as it arrives, thank you for the genuine subscription and the reward of warm pink for dear friends. You are all gone, how can I survive by myself? Lin Baohe's and Zhao Yulan's expression suddenly became sad because of Mr. Wan's emotional words. After getting along for so long, they have already regarded Mr. Wan as their real relatives. Thinking that the old man was left alone in the empty room, the couple felt very uncomfortable. Although there is also Mrs. Yin, But Mrsyan is not a talkative person, and the old man pays special attention to propriety, so there is not much difference between two people and one person. If you feel sorry for grandpa, you can stay for a while longer. Although it was useless to persuade him many times, Chusia couldn't help but persuaded again. If you stay longer, you will still have to leave sooner or later. At that time, you will feel even more uncomfortable. Lin Baohe sighed. Xia, if you really love Uncle Wan, work harder and try to get your parents back sooner. Chusia couldn't help it anymore, so she retorted, I don't understand. Whether I work hard or not has nothing to do with whether you come back. Anyway, you are not idle here, and you can make money yourself. Grandpa Wan is the godfather I have always recognized. He lives here alone, and he needs someone to take care of him. Isn't it better to be with you than others? Father and mother, can you not dig into the dead end? You silly boy, that's the way it is. We understand the truth, but would outsiders think so? Why do you have to care what outsiders think? Chusia stroked his forehead with a headache. After you leave, I will also live in the hospital. I will come back once a week at most. I just want to take care of grandpa. I have more energy than I want. Father, mother, in order for me to study steadily, you stay, can't you? Come back every week to have a meal with you, have a meal with your parents-in-law, or just have a lively time together. How good is it? Stupid child. Lin Baohe patted his daughter's head. Okay, your parents know what you think. If you want to live a life like this, you should work hard. Well, turned back again. Chusia slapped his head hard with a headache. Let me bang my head to death, why can't I explain it? Such a simple truth, why can't I understand it? Okay, don't force your parents. Old man Wan sighed. For this matter, it's not the first time that you force them. If you force them like this again, it will only make it harder for them. Baohe, Yulan, you want to go back to your hometown. Just go back with peace of mind. I'm fine here, my old man used to live like this too. I have been here for many years, and there is nothing wrong with it. What about you? Go back and live a good life, and don't worry too much about Chusia. She married a good family, and besides, there is me here, don't worry, no one can bully her. It was a good atmosphere. How did it turn out like this? Zhou Mikang had been observing the expressions of several people, and now he looked at Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan seriously. Father, mother, let me ask you a question, please tell me your real thoughts, okay? The couple looked at each other, and Lin Baohe sighed. Xiaomi, your grandma talked to us, and your mother also talked to us. They made it clear that the Zhou family doesn't care about Yulan and I living here, and they also hope that we can live here. They stayed with us sincerely, and they didn't mean to look down on us from the bottom of their hearts. I understand that you don't need to persuade me. Your mother and I can't get over this matter. We don't want Chusia to rely on the Zhou family and Uncle Wan for the rest of her life. We hope she can support herself. It's not that we don't trust you, but we want our daughter to have a future. This is the third time for the couple to express this point of view, and it can be seen that they are serious. Zhou Mikang sighed and looked at Chusia helplessly. He really wanted to dispel the worries of the couple just now, telling them that the Zhou family would not mind them staying here, whether they lived in the Zhou family or the Wan family, they would not mind. Apparently, the old man had guessed what he was thinking, and refused him straight away without even talking to him. Their character and principles of life make him respect. However, it was also a headache for him. Their living here did not affect Chusia's hard work. On the contrary, it made her work harder, so she didn't have to worry about being gossiped about them in their hometown. Unfortunately, they just have their own persistence. Indeed, in an ordinary family, their persistence will win more respect and status for their daughter, but in the Zhou family, it is really unnecessary. Alas, they won't listen to what they say. The old man and the mother-in-law are really not ordinary stubborn, or is it because the whole family doesn't enter the house? Thinking about it carefully, my old man really has the temperament of a soldier. On the way home, Chusia was still a little sluggish. Parting was always sad, and the partings she was about to face one after another made her feel particularly uncomfortable. Joe Mikang stretched out his hand to embrace her. Don't use your way of thinking to judge their behavior, be happy, otherwise, they will suffer more than you. Hey, Chusia sighed heavily, I just can't understand their so-called persistence. They can live happily as a family, why do they have to separate and worry about each other? I know they want me to work hard, want me to be successful, and don't want me to be a parasite, but this has no conflict with their stay at all. I didn't say let them stay home and do nothing, did I? You have also seen that the matchboxes that my parents make every day are enough for them and Grandpa Wan and sister-in-law Yin's for to live on. They live in Grandpa Wan's house, and they don't eat and drink for free, right? Being able to see me often, keeping Grandpa Wan from being alone, and allowing me to concentrate on my studies in a down-to-earth manner, is obviously a three-win thing, so why can't they figure it out? That's because you are still young, and the most important thing is that you don't have a sense of belonging to Dahlin village. After a pause, Joe Mikang continued, for them, they are very worried about you and want to be with you, but, they want to keep the rear for you. The so-called rear area is Dahlin village, where they have their roots, where they feel that everything truly belongs to them, and only then can they live with a sense of security. It made them feel that there are people who can share their joys, sorrows, and joys. That feeling is something you can't give. It's similar to how a person has been a soldier for decades and has the same feelings for the army. I say this, can you understand? Chusia's thoughts drifted to her parents and grandparents. The Lin family's house was handed down from the ancestors. It was confiscated, and later, it was returned. The first thing Grandpa did was to spend all his money to renovate the ancestral house and move in with the whole family. She was born and grew up in that house. When she was in college, she was looking forward to living on campus and breaking away from the shackles of her parents and grandparents. However, when she was really lying in the dormitory, she missed herself so much. I miss the faint woody fragrance emanating from the old house. In their junior year, someone offered 80 million yuan to buy the ancestral house of the Lin family. With that money, they could buy 5 large duplexes in the city center. However, their grandparents and parents refused without even thinking about it. They said it was their home. Home, how can it be sold? Thinking about it, my parents should feel that way about Dahlin village. Although her affection for the ancestral house is not as deep as that of her grandparents and parents, she can appreciate it more or less. In this way, she had some understanding of Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan's persistence. If they don't go back and settle down the house earlier, they will always feel uneasy in their hearts, and always feel that they will not be able to protect their daughter in the future. This is also the reason why Chinese people try their best to work for a house all their lives, and they must also own a house. With a house, you have a home, and at the same time, you have a sense of stability and security. After figuring out the reason, Chusia no longer struggles with this matter, and no longer plans to persuade her parents to stay, or let them go back early to settle down the family, and they will take the initiative to accompany her. Joe Mikang has been paying attention to Chusia's expression. Seeing her furrowed brows finally loosened, he said, have you figured it out? Actually, you don't have to worry too much about how angry they will be when they go back. Isn't Zhong Hongying being driven back? Just her mother, she will definitely not be able to resist going to her parents to settle accounts. At that time, no need to explain, everyone will know you well married. Did you do it on purpose? Chusia's eyes widened. Did you open Zhong Hongying on purpose? I can't say that. If she didn't make a mistake, why would I drive her back? Who let her hit the gun? I have been thinking about it for the past few days. How can I relieve my parents when I don't go to Dahlin village? And your pressure, in the end, she came to the door by herself, and I can't blame me. If it is normal, maybe I will consider the impact of this matter on her. Now, she deserves it. Hiss. Chusia took a breath. I'm so happy. Happiness, what are you so angry about? Jo Mikang stared at her speechlessly. I don't know how to tell lies. Are you feeling lucky? It's so smart. I'm glad you're looking at me and not her, otherwise, I would have died without a place to die, Chusia said while patting his chest. The Buddha really treated me well, amen. When the Buddha heard your words, he would come down and beat you to death. Amitabha, there are so many great Buddhas, so I don't care if I read the wrong slogan to him. Jo Mikang. He really didn't know what to say about such a weird talk. Fortunately, this girl was taken over by him, and she would be married to an ordinary family. He really couldn't imagine. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 352. The second watch arrives. Before entering the door, I heard laughter and jokes, and Chusia said in surprise, why is it so lively today? Zhou Zhonkong has brought Mei Xiaofeng back. Really? Chusia smiled at him flatteringly, thank you. Jo Mikang glared at her, don't play tricks on me. You didn't mention this, so naturally you don't want my parents to be burdened. I really appreciate you, don't be embarrassed. Chusia waved at him boldly, opened the door and walked in. Who is sorry, who wants you to thank me? Jo Mikang muttered speechlessly, and walked in behind his little wife. Third brother, San, are you back? Seeing Chusia and Jo Mikang coming in, Zhou Zhonkong hurriedly greeted him, but third brother yelled clearly, but sister-in-law 3 only called out the word 3, the word sister-in-law twitched several times in her throat, but it was vaguely passed. Hello third brother, third sister-in-law Mei Xiaofeng was much more generous than Zhou Zhonkong. She knew Jo Mikang before, but it was the first time they met him after marriage. Her status was different, so she was a little restrained. Sit down. Jo Mikang nodded at the two of them, and pulled Chusia to sit next to Mrs. Jo. Grandma, I'm not at home in the future, you have to take the lead in protecting Chusia for me, and don't let some people treat her badly. Not small. Chusia just said hello to a group of people. Hearing him say that, he felt a little uncomfortable. This guy was obviously trying to find fault with Zhou Zhonkong. Mei Xiaofeng tugged Zhou Zhonkang's sleeves and shook them, while blinking at him non-stop. Signal him to quickly correct the mistake just now. Zhou Zhonkong was not so easy to compromise. He turned his head to the side. Pretending not to see her wink, he pawed at Zhou Huikang, shall we go to school together tomorrow? Okay, Zhou Huikang responded. He got up and flashed. He didn't want to be Zhou Zhonkang's rake, and he didn't have a good impression of fifth brother. He heard the third sister-in-law that fifth brother had in his throat just now, so it would be strange if he was willing to let him go like this because of third brother's temper. The old lady Zhou knew that Jo Mikang was asking her to uphold justice for Chusia, so she slapped him with a smile. Don't worry, whether you are here or not, Chusia will not be wronged. She looked at Zhou Zhonkong and Mei Xiaofeng. Zhonkong, Xiaofeng, your third brother will definitely not be at home when you officially set up the wine, so let's pay our respects to your third brother and sister-in-law first with tea instead of wine. During this period of time, your third elder brother has suffered a lot of grievances for this family, and your third sister-in-law has also made a lot of efforts to protect this family. You, also take advantage of this opportunity. Thank them well. You don't need to thank me. Chusia hurriedly sat aside, and Jo Mikang grabbed her. Why don't you thank you? If it weren't for Wan Lao, would the Zhou family still be the current Zhou family? The biggest in the family, you are the hero. You know that. He stood up and stared around blankly. I'm ugly. If someone dares to bully Chusia during the time I'm not at home. When I come back, Don't feel bad about it, I turned my face mercilessly. Grandparents. Dad, Mom, if Chusia suffers any grievances, the first thing I do when I come back is to take her away from Joe's house, you can figure it out. Chusia has been pulling him hard, but this guy's stubbornness, how could he hold back? In the end he pulled her up and made her stand beside him, forcing everyone to express their opinions. Hee. Mr. Joe laughed. Boy, are you still threatening? You say that with your temper, do we dare to treat your wife badly? Don't worry. Aren't you just angry that Xiao Zhong had a bad attitude just now? Zhou Zhongkang, stand up for me, and express your attitude to your third brother in a serious manner. Also, explain why you didn't call MRS-san vaguely just now. If you don't understand, don't enter the gate of Joe's house in the future. As for whether the May family agrees that you are their son-in-law, it has nothing to do with us. You can decide for yourself. Well, that's the reason MRS Joe agreed with a smile. What I said just now was a bit reserved, but it's the same as your grandpa's meaning. Lin Yangqiu and Zhou Jingping looked at each other, and expressed their opinion on behalf of the couple. Chusia is our daughter-in-law, and it's too late for us to love her. How can we bully her? As for her elder brother and sister-in-law, she must not be bullied. If others dare to bully her, I promise, we will rush up as soon as possible. The eldest brother and sister-in-law have expressed their views. How can they not be silent about the trouble caused by their own son? Zhou Gangping hurriedly expressed his opinion on behalf of himself and his wife. When it was over, he glared at his son fiercely. Zhou Zhongkang, please apologize to me quickly. Otherwise, we would not have your son. Why? Zhou Zhongkang stood up abruptly, staring at Zhou Mikang angrily. Third brother, I don't mean to disrespect third sister-in-law at all, I just thought she was so young, so I didn't feel ashamed to call her third sister-in-law. Do you think you need to force the whole family to express their opinions with such a high-level plan? Does that mean that I can also ask the whole family to express their opinions, and they are not allowed to bully Xiaofeng in the future? If every younger generation does this, where will the elders put their face? Who is in charge of this family? In the past, everyone let you go because you were hurt by that woman Yamiru. Everyone pitied you. Now that you have found the woman you really love, why do you want everyone to let you go? Watched by Zhou Mikang with no expression on his face, Zhou Zongkang's voice became smaller and smaller, but he insisted on finishing what he wanted to say with his back straightened. You. Mei Xiaofeng tugged at his sleeves helplessly. Third brother has suffered so much for this family, can't you just let him go? These words sounded like they were trying to persuade Zhou Zhongkang, but in fact, they meant that Zhou Mikang was domineering. Chu Xia glanced at her lightly, and said, Fifth brother and sister, what is yielding? Can you explain? Sister-in-law 3, I said I was in a hurry. What I mean is, tell Zhou Zhongkang not to be so stubborn, and follow the wishes of the elders and do what you want. Chu Xia looked at her indifferently. I don't deserve Zhou Zhongkang to call me third sister-in-law. Mei Xiaofeng was also spoiled at home, she was also a daughter-in-law, she was treated differently, she felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. Now seeing Chu Xia being so aggressive, the expression on her face became even more annoyed. This is the third sister-in-law, I said it myself, I didn't say it. Chu Xia looked at Mr. Zhou and the others. Since this is the case, you don't need to call me Sanzao when you see me in the future. If you want to call Chu Xia, you can call Chu Xia, and if you don't want to call Chu Xia, you can call Xiaolin. However, what Zhou Mikang has done for this family cannot be obliterated. He fought for the respect he deserves for his wife and cannot be slandered. Apologize to him, sincerely. After she finished speaking, she turned and looked at the elders, and bowed one by one. Grandpa, Grandma, Mom and Dad, second uncle, second aunt, third uncle, please forgive my self-assertion, but I was born with such a character, and others treat me well, I must double the repayment. I can't let Joe Mikang be discredited for helping me. You don't have to protect me. Whether you can gain respect in this family is not based on begging, but on your own. I will work hard. I believe that one day, they will call me third sister-in-law willingly. I also believe that one day, when you treat me well, some people won't be jealous and hate me. This is really a little thorn who refuses to suffer at all. However, he loves it. Joe Mikang looked at his little wife with the corner of his mouth curved, with a proud expression on his face. Chu Xia, I will let you hold your head up for the rest of your life, and you won't beg anyone, he said solemnly. You. Mr. Joe laughed angrily, I'm not dead yet, so just pretend I don't exist. Joe Zhonkong, apologize, or you should get out of this house right now. In the past, Joe Zhonkong would definitely get out without looking back, but now, he can't. After he and Mei Xiaofeng got married, he didn't know what it means to be a hero who dies for a penny. The Mei family refused to recognize him all the time, which cut off Mei Xiaofeng's source of income. During the days when the Zhou family was not rehabilitated, their life was to the point where they couldn't finish their meal. Fortunately, it didn't take long for the Zhou family to be rehabilitated. Although they still lived outside, they lived well with Liang Xiahong's support. But the problem now is that what he wants is not just food and clothing. He will graduate soon, and he hopes to make achievements in his career. Then, he needs the support of the Mei family and the Zhou family. If the Mei family doesn't accept him, how can they support him? Now, the relationship between the Mei family and the Zhou family has been thawed. As long as the elders of the Zhou family are willing to go to the Mei family to propose marriage, I believe that the Mei family will marry Mei Xiaofeng to him in a fair and honest manner. He needs the recognition of the Mei family. Enduring the sourness and resentment in his stomach, Zhou Zhonkong gritted his molars and apologized to Zhou Mikang and Chu Xia. Zhou Mikang sat there without even looking at him. Chu Xia looked at him, but at the same time, he gritted his molars and asked, speaking like this is too sincere, I dare not accept it. Zhou Mikang probably doesn't dare either, right? While talking, he poked Zhou Mikang one time. Grandpa, Grandma, parents, second uncle, second aunt, third uncle, we are tired after a long day of work, so we went up to rest. Zhou Mikang forced Chu Xia to go upstairs as he spoke. When Zhou Zhonkong saw it, he became anxious, and said loudly, third brother and third sister-in-law, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I promise, I will clearly call third sister-in-law in the future. Mei Xiaofeng was eager to get the affirmation of her family, so she quickly expressed her opinion, I promise, in the future, I will never be jealous because my elders treat me better than my third sister-in-law, and I will not say that my third brother is domineering in order to protect Zhou Zhonkong. Zhou Mikang's footsteps faltered, but he didn't look back. Do you want to give them a letter? Otherwise, I won't be able to get along with them if you leave, Chu Xia reminded him in a low voice. You yelled like that just now, so of course you can't show weakness. Zhou Mikang glared at him, stretched out his arms, directly lifted her feet off the ground, and dragged her into the bedroom. Of course, in the eyes of others, it was the head of the group, Zhou, who hugged his little wife's waist and went back to the bedroom together, but just like that, it was enough to shatter an eyeball. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 353. Let's just come up like this, shall we? After entering the room and closing the door, Chu Xia looked at Zhou Mikang uncomfortably, I'm sorry, I didn't control my emotions, I embarrass you. Zhou Mikang sized her up with a half smile, you really think so? No, I just want to be polite to you. Chu Xia pouted and snorted, she said you are ignorant, how can I bear it, you protect me so much, of course I will protect you too, right? Zhou Mikang waved her hand, okay, you did the right thing, I don't blame you, stop messing around, go wash up, I'll go down and come up later. What are you going to do? Chu Xia rushed over and hugged his arm. Do you want to continue picking on them, or do you want to say soft words to ease it? According to your opinion, what should I do? Zhou Mikang looked at her with a smile. Please point out the way, I will listen to you. Really? Chu Xia blinked her big eyes, and two dimples appeared at the corners of her mouth. I want you to assure me first that what you said will definitely mean something. Zhou Mikang raised his hand like a model. I promise, I will do whatever Lin Chuxia asks me to do. If I can't do it, let me. That's enough, that's enough. Because I came here for no reason, Chu Xia used to uphold the principle of preferring to believe in things like this, and not to believe in nothing, so she hurriedly interrupted him. I swear, I won't need it, I will. He is not such a domineering person, besides, this depends on self-consciousness, and it is boring to force it. Zhou Mikang was not in a hurry to say the oath just now because he was worried about Chu Xia's taboos in this regard. Seeing that she really minded, he let go. Speak. There is no need to lay the groundwork. Sit down and talk. Chu Xia dragged him to sit at the table, looking at him seriously. I believe that the people in this family treat me sincerely. I also believe that when you are not at home, the elders will treat me very well. However, if they are too kind to me, they may make other juniors feel uncomfortable. Tonight is an example, right? It's just that Mei Xiaofeng feels uncomfortable. If this continues, other juniors may gradually feel uncomfortable and unbalanced. This kind of imbalance is a kind of human instinct. If the elders treat Mei Xiaofeng well and don't take me seriously, I believe I will feel unbalanced in my heart. I don't want to worry about this kind of thing, and I don't want to embarrass the elders in the family. After my parents left, Grandpa Wan was left alone. Why not? I will live with Grandpa Wan. He is my god-grandfather, I take care of him, and no one else can say anything. I can promise. During the 2 days of rest, one day I will definitely come to Joe's house to accompany my grandparents. Go and discuss with the elders. Okay. After being silent for a while, Zhou Mikang looked at Chu Xia seriously. We are already married. If you live in Wanjia, it will be fine for a short time. If it is for a long time, some people will definitely say that the Zhou family can't tolerate you. Furthermore, it may be said that you are not welcomed by the Zhou family, or simply that because of your family background, you cannot be seen by the Zhou family. I know you feel sorry for Wan Lao living alone, but you can't ignore your own handling, right? Otherwise, I will discuss it with my grandparents. Parents, you live in Zhou's house for a week, and Wan's house for a week, okay? Good. Seeing that Chu Xia replied without thinking, Zhou Mikang was taken aback, and then suddenly said, play with me. In fact, this is the result you want, right? Chu Xia, who was told about the central matter, sneered, I didn't play tricks with you, and I agreed to it because I was considerate of your difficulties. You. Zhou Mikang pointed at her helplessly, opened the door and walked out. Seeing him coming down again, Zhou Zhongkang and Mei Xiaofeng were surprised in their eyes. Third brother, I'm sorry, we were wrong at that time. Third brother, don't be as knowledgeable as I am. I'm actually a nurse who is used to nursing, so I said that about you. After I finished speaking, I regretted it. Third brother, what she said is true. She has been apologizing to her grandparents and parents just now. Third brother, you can't attend our wedding, so we want to invite you and third sister-in-law to drink our wedding wine together tomorrow, okay? Okay. Zhou Mikang interrupted the two of them with a wave of his hand, walked up to Lin Yangkaiu and sat down, facing Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou, he said Chu Xia's thoughts seriously. The old man and the old lady looked at each other, and they happily agreed to Zhou Mikang's request. Of course, they understood that Chu Xia must have made the request, and they also knew that it was a little inappropriate to do so. Don't let others gossip too much. Furthermore, it is really worrying for Mr. Wan to live alone. Although there is a nanny, but when he is old, he desires more spiritual things, rather than pure material satisfaction and physical care. If it wasn't for Wan Lao's special status, they would have hoped to let him live in Zhou's house. In this way, he would kill two birds with one stone, but at present, this is not possible. On the other hand, Chu Xia is a child who values affection. If she is an ordinary girl, although she will feel a little uncomfortable in her husband's house, she will never let go of this opportunity to be favored alone. The longer they get along, the more satisfied they are with the daughter-in-law Zhou Mikang chose. She is young and sometimes impulsive, but she is not petty at all. Sometimes they wondered, she was a little girl who came out of a small village and had never seen the world, but she gave people the impression that she had seen everything. Compared with her, Mei Xiaofeng really fell behind. When the Zhou family had an accident, she came with Zhou Zhonkang, and she acted very aggressively. It may be because she was left out by the Mei family during this period and suffered a lot with Zhou Zhonkang. It was obviously a little calculation. Everyone has a true self and a self that is concealed. When things are not going well, the so-called truth that everyone sees may be false. When faced with some difficulties that have never been experienced, the true will not consciously showed up. Mei Xiaofeng's mentality now is indeed different from before. She loves Zhou Zhonkang and is ready to suffer with him. However, planning is one thing, and actually facing it is another. The two of them live together, and she has to do all the housework. Zhou Zhonkang is simply a master whose soy sauce bottle has been poured out. If it weren't for his mother-in-law will go to help from time to time, she probably collapsed long ago. I think she was also brought up pampered, let alone such rough work as washing, cooking, and washing dishes. She rarely even does such things as serving dishes on the table. If the Mei family saw her now, they would probably can't believe your eyes, can you? She secretly asked her mother for help, but unfortunately, her mother, who was still angry with her, didn't even see her. It is precisely because of this lack of emotion that she longs for Zhou's family's recognition and love. As a new wife, she can't help but compare with Chu Xia. As a result, the more contrasted, the more unbalanced she becomes. Tonight was the first time she and Zhou Zhonkang had formally returned to Zhou's house for dinner, and it was the first time they visited Zhou's family as the granddaughter-in-law. We must pay attention to her, right? As a result, Brother Zhou came back and muttered a few words before leaving. She thought that he would come back with the third sister-in-law later. However, until the food was served, the two of them did not come back. Out of politeness, she asked Mrs. Zhou if she should wait for the third brother and the third sister-in-law. Mrs. Zhou's answer was, "No, let's have dinner." At that time, she still felt that the Zhou family didn't value Brother Wednesday as much as the rumors said, but she found out from the conversations during the dinner that Brother Wednesday and his wife went to dinner with their father-in-law and mother-in-law. In an instant, she fell into the sea of vinegar. Lin Chuxia is the granddaughter of Mr. Wan. She knows that the Lin family lives in the Wan's family. If it was normal, she would not care about it. But today is the first time she came to the house as the new wife of the Zhou family. The couple don't pay attention to it. Shouldn't Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou pay attention to it? Shouldn't they be home for dinner? Thinking about myself again, in order to marry Zhou Zhonkang, the family ignored her, even the mother who loved her the most ignored her. She is also the daughter-in-law of the Zhou family. Why does Lin Chuxia have everything, but she has nothing? Therefore, people are afraid of comparison, and the more they compare, the more unbalanced they feel. Later, after Zhou Zhonkang said something unpleasant, she unconsciously defended her husband. Then, Lin Chuxia was annoyed. Then, fear replaced jealousy. If Zhou Mikang didn't agree, the Zhou family probably wouldn't go to the Mei family to propose marriage, and she would have to live a miserable life like this. At first she thought it was a simple matter, but now she doesn't want to live a day. Jo Jonkong was a stubborn student who asked his elders to live at home, but he refused to say anything, saying that it was meaningless to live with a large family and be restrained. He is interesting, she is almost exhausted. Now that Jo Mikang made such a request, Jo's elders agreed, and her heart was churning even more, but she didn't dare to be jealous anymore. So he suppressed all the discomfort in his heart, and smiled at Jo Mikang in a fawning manner. "Third brother, what's your opinion on the matter between me and Jonkong?" "I have no opinion on your matters." Jo Mikang looked at her expressionlessly. "Xiaofeng, although we didn't know each other before, we knew each other. Your growth environment is different from that in early summer. Don't talk to her about everything. Compare. During my absence, if you really dare to do something small to Chuxia, don't think I'm turning my face and denying others. Jo Jonkong, listen to me too, take care of your wife and yourself. I'm not here, there are others, watch it for me." After finishing speaking, Jo Mikang got up and went upstairs. Did you agree?" Mei Xiaofeng stared at Jo Jonkong, and asked in a daze, and then, her eyes drifted to the old lady Jo. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind." Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 354. The second watch arrives. When Chu Xia came out of the shower, Jo Mikang just opened the door and came in. She quickly glanced at the big tightly wrapped bathrobe, and her face relaxed. Jo Mikang frowned. "Why don't you dry your hair before you come out?" He picked up the towel hanging by the door, stepped forward to help her wipe her hair, and said in a reproachful tone full of indulgence, "So when you grow up, you don't know how to take care of yourself, so how can you not pay attention to your small body? Chu Xia has black hair all over her head, is she that weak?" Without waiting for her to tell, he dragged her to the table irresistibly, plugged in the hair dryer and began to blow dry her hair, still muttering, but the whistling wind blew past her ears, she couldn't hear what he said at all. Although he knew he was scolding her, his heart was warm. When she first came to this era, the most uncomfortable thing for her was that there was no hair dryer after washing her hair, so she could only use a towel to twist it half dry, and then hang it on her shoulders to dry slowly. At that time, her hair was dry and yellow, and when the wind blew it after drying, she looked like a golden lion king. The braids were two thin yellow hairs. It was not that she didn't want to cut it off, but she was afraid that if she cut it off, she would lose her hair. "It's more like a golden-haired lion king, so I kept it like that all the time, and when I was about to serve in the army, my hair got a little better. Now, after raising it for more than half a year, it is already black and bright. The hair cut to the roots of the ears has also grown to below the shoulders. After drying, it has a healthy luster, which makes her small face even more pink. What a beauty." Someone stated that she was obsessed with herself. While feeling narcissistic, Jo Mikang put down the hair dryer. Helping her brush her messy hair, she obviously felt that the other's fingers were stiff. She raised her head to look at him suspiciously, and then followed his line of sight. It was Snow White in her eyes. She jumped onto the bed with an awe, glared at him bitterly. "You rascal." Jo Mikang chuckled. "Didn't you show it to me on purpose? I thought my little wife was seducing me on purpose, haha. Narcissist." She got into the quilt and wrapped herself up tightly. "Don't think about it, I'm not feeling well, and I can't fulfill my wife's obligations. You yourself know that it's your wife's duty." Jo Mikang stepped forward and rubbed her head exposed outside the quilt. "I'm going to take a shower, wait for me." Wait for him to go in. She just realized that she forgot to ask about the business. "I really want to pretend to be asleep when he comes out." However, after Weaven understood, she couldn't fall asleep again, so she got out of bed quietly, changed into a set of tight pajamas, got under the covers and waited for him. I'm going to live at Grandpa Wan's house, have my grandparents and parents agreed? Chu Xia asked anxiously after Zhou Mikang came out of the bathroom. Zhou Mikang glanced at her and picked up the hair dryer. Blow on the stubble of hair twice, then turn off the light and go to bed. What did you ask me just now? You obviously heard it. What are you pretending to be? She muttered in a low voice, but she nestled obediently into his arms, although she hadn't fulfilled her wife's duty before. But being hugged by him to sleep all the time, it became natural to get used to it. He blew softly behind her ear, "Kiss me. I'll tell you." "Hey, you can't. My body hurts." She was so frightened that her body became stiff, and his madness every night really scared her. "I didn't plan to do anything, just let you kiss me. What's the pain?" Zhou Mikang pulled her over and faced her. "You choose yourself, let me kiss or you kiss yourself." She quickly poked her head forward and pecked lightly on his forehead. "Okay, can you tell me?" Too perfunctory, he shook his head. She had no choice but to stay on his forehead for a longer time. "Speak. I asked you to kiss the lips, not the forehead. When you have a baby in the future, you can kiss the baby like this." "Well, I can't fool you like this." She really wanted to say don't say anything, but she wanted to know the answer anxiously in her heart, so she pecked him lightly on the mouth. Seeing that he didn't make a sound, she knew that she was dissatisfied with her performance, so she had no choice but to peck him again. After pecking, he didn't make a sound 5 times in a row, and someone expressed his displeasure. "It's almost enough. If you bully someone too much, you will be beaten with chicken eggs." "When did I bully you?" Zhou Mikang turned over and pressed her under him. "I wanted to talk to you, but you kissed me again and again. How can I tell?" "Chu Xia. Can you still be shameless?" Knowing that she was about to blow up, Zhou Mikang stopped teasing her and stroked her ear gently. "Don't worry, they are all reasonable and agreed. But in early summer, you have to let yourself really treat them as a family. People are mutual. If you don't treat them as a family, it will always affect the progress of the relationship between the two parties after a long time." "I know." Chu Xia nodded obediently. "Go to sleep, you must be quite busy tomorrow." "Little rascal." He put his hand on her chest, rubbing it back and forth. "You don't want me to touch you, do you?" I'm really uncomfortable," Chu Xia replied tensely. She has been trying to dress normally all day, but her lower body still has a slight pain. If it happens again, she is afraid that she will really die tomorrow. "Make a fool of yourself. Let me sleep with you." He turned sideways so that there was no gap between her body and his, and completely wrapped her in his arms. Her body stiffened for a while. Chu Xia slowly relaxed, feeling the obvious changes in his body and his forbearance. She sighed softly, shrank her body into his arms, took his big hand, hugged her in her arms. "Go to sleep." "Is this trusting yourself?" Zhou Mikang shrank back and smiled wryly. He is a man with normal psychology and physiology. She just put his arms on his chest like this, and let his fingers feel smooth and soft. Is this a test for him or a test for him? However, no matter what, he had to force himself to endure, otherwise, how could he be worthy of her trust? What's more, her current body really can't bear her. Please spare her for a night. Tomorrow must not let her escape. Maybe it was because of his state of mind, or because he thought about having a big meal tomorrow night. After a while, Zhou Mikang also fell into a deep sleep. When he fell asleep, her eyes opened suddenly, with tears sliding down the corners of her eyes. Her ability to pretend to be asleep is first-rate, and she even fooled him. In fact, she really wanted to give him some good memories before he left, but she was a face-saving person, so she really couldn't accept it, because this kind of thing let others see it. Of course she knows that he doesn't move her because he loves her. Well, I hope her body can recover better, and she will definitely fulfill her duties as a wife tomorrow night. This time, She finally fell asleep with peace of mind. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 355. As soon as it arrives. When he woke up in the morning, Zhou Mikang was no longer by his side. Chu Xia glanced at the time, and at 6:15, he quickly got up to take a shower. Just after he came out of the bathroom and changed his clothes, the door opened and Zhou Mikang walked in, his head was steaming. Obviously, he went to exercise early in the morning. Zhou Mikang smiled at her, let's go for a stroll in the yard. The frosty scenery is quite beautiful. I asked a friend to send you a camera. It should be here in a few days. In the future, you can share the scenery you like, take pictures, of course, and don't forget to take more pictures of yourself and send them to me regularly. Good. Seeing her agreeing so happily, Zhou Mikang was a little surprised. This is not like your character, don't you want to stab me a few words before agreeing? According to scientific research, men mature later than women. Although you are a few years older than me, you can't hide the fact that I am more mature than you. It is right to let you. Zhou Mikang. Have you been fascinated? Chu Xia approached him with a smile and poked his arm. Don't be too obsessed with sister, she is a legend. Zhou Mikang. Chu Xia patted him on the head like a puppy. Hey, don't be dazed, go take a shower, sister will go downstairs and wait for you. She was so complacent that she ignored the danger factor of the other party. As a result, before she could move her footsteps, she realized that she was lying on the bed. The quilt, of course, was Captain Zhou. Little thing, you are getting more and more courageous. I don't think I will clean you up. You don't know who you are, do you? Why clean up the swelling? Chu Xia recklessly stretched out her tender little finger to poke the other's chest. It's too heavy. I can't breathe. Get up. Stupid or just pretending to be stupid, the big hand reached into her clothes and rubbed back and forth. I really want to exercise on the bed again now, thank you for your cooperation. Okay, you can exercise. Chu Xia gave up resistance, looking like he was being slaughtered. As long as you are not afraid that I will not be able to hold my head up in this family in the future, then exercise. As your wife, fulfill your wife's obligations. It should be. With my little strength, it is futile to resist. You can figure it out. The desire fire that had already burned to his forehead was extinguished by her in an instant, and he stared at her helplessly. I said, can you be more rascal? It's too unfair. Chu Xia sighed and shook her head. Who is the rascal? Who is the one who forcibly puts pressure on others? Okay, I'll spare you. Let's see how I deal with you at night. In order to save face, the group leader Tongzi didn't forget to utter a few harsh words when he turned over. Chu Xia pouted, but didn't dare to provoke him again, and slipped out along the wall like a bunny. When I got to the door, I didn't forget to turn my head and make a face. This guy. A smile spontaneously spread on that face with a relatively sparse expression, and the head of the group, Zhaizi, went into the bathroom in a turbulent mood. Downstairs, Mr. Zhou and Zhou Jingping were sitting on the sofa reading a book. Ms. Zhou stood by the window stretching her arms and legs and saw Chu Xia coming down. Just smiled and waved. Xia, go out to exercise with grandma. Okay, Chu Xia responded crisply. Running over to hold the old lady's arm, Xiaojing hurriedly opened the door for the two of them, and greeted, Old lady, third young lady, do you want to add another dress? No need. The old lady waved her hand. It's not too cold now, so we don't need to wear so many clothes. We're going to exercise, not just sitting still. Although it was already the beginning of winter, the weather was still not cold. The grandparents and grandson ran along the path in the courtyard. After a while, they felt warm all over, so the old lady changed from running to walking. Xia, let's walk slowly, don't go out. Sweating and catching a cold. Chu Xia responded, retreated to the old lady's side, and took the old lady's arm affectionately. "Grandma, when I am at home, I will go out for a walk with you. More activities are good for your health." The old lady smiled and nodded. "Okay." Josei used to accompany me to go out for a stroll. After she got married, no one will take care of the old lady, it's better for my Xia. Chuxia also squinted her eyes and smiled. "Grandma, when I first saw you, I thought you had a bad temper, and I could see from your eyes that you didn't like me very much. But I didn't expect that you are actually so cute an old lady. With a grandma like you, I feel particularly safe." "Ghost girl." The old lady smiled gratifiedly. "I know what grandma wants to tell you, so why don't you show your loyalty to me first?" "Hey." Chuxia smiled shyly. "In front of you, there is nowhere to hide any small tricks. I am selling big knives in front of Guangong, and playing axes in front of Luban." "Haha." The old lady also laughed heartily. "Looking at you like this, grandma is finally relieved. You just got married, and Xiaomi is leaving. To be honest, no one will feel uncomfortable. Grandma is indeed worried that you have been here for too short a time. It is difficult to really regard yourself as a member of this family, especially after Xiaomi left. In early summer, grandma doesn't want to be sloppy with you. Xiaomi's mission this time is dangerous. We actually discussed your matter in a meeting. Your grandfather and your parents and I have decided that no matter what happens in the future, you will always be a member of the Zhou family, either a daughter-in-law or a daughter-in-law. The Zhou family will always be responsible for you, including your parents. After they are truly willing to accept our help psychologically, they will be transferred here to live with you. Originally, I wanted to talk to you about this matter after Xiaomi left, but after much deliberation, grandma decided to tell you before Xiaomi left. This is more fair to you. If you have any ideas that are inconvenient to mention to us, you can mention them to Xiaomi, and he will tell us, or he can make arrangements." Chuxia half-jokingly said, "Grandma, you are really sorry for what I said to you just now. I also said that you are the first elder who regards me as Zhou's family from the bottom of your heart. If that is true, you won't tell me these things. Are you going to have an equivalent exchange with me now? You know that grandma didn't mean that. It was your mother-in-law who was supposed to talk to you about this matter, but she had doubts about you before, and you probably have a bit of grudge against her, so I'm embarrassed to seek you out. As for grandma, of course I believe in your character, and I know that after you marry Xiaomi, you will be his wife sincerely. Your mother and I both know this. Telling you this is to let you understand the thoughts of all of us, and to let Xiaomi really feel at ease, so that you don't have to worry about you all the time. No matter how much we believe in you, we can't change the fact that you are the daughter-in-law of the Zhou family and not the daughter of the Zhou family. If you don't say anything, if there is a misunderstanding, it will not be worth the loss. Therefore, grandma would rather be blamed by the villain than to cause misunderstanding one day in the future because of her self-righteous understanding." "Grandma, I understand what you mean." Chuxia's expression became serious. "Let Zhou Mikang tell me that I live in Zhou's house for a week and Wan's house for a week, that's indeed what I meant. However, I do this not because I don't regard the Zhou family as my own home, but because I don't want it to be difficult for you. At the same time, I really feel that Grandpa Wan is too lonely living alone. After his granddaughter visited last time, Aunt Wan called him. The father and daughter had a very unpleasant conversation. Although Grandpa Wan didn't say anything, it was obvious that he was very unhappy. My parents are also stubborn, and they want to go back to their hometown, so I feel that if I leave him alone at home, I will definitely think wildly. If I go to accompany him and talk to him every other week, or he will feel better. He really treats me like a granddaughter. Grandma, people are really fate. When Grandpa Wan was in Dalan village, no one dared to approach him. Only I thought he was very kind, so I was willing to go to his house to play. Therefore, I have learned more things and mastered more skills than my peers of the same age. Otherwise, Joe Mikang probably would not like me either. Don't forget the man who dug the well when drinking water. At this time, he is in a difficult time. I feel that I have an obligation to accompany him through it. This will not only make Grandpa Juan not so lonely, but also make it easier for grandparents to do things. It is a double winner. Well, that's the fundamental reason why I asked Joe Mikang to discuss this matter with the elders. Mrs. Joe poked her forehead amusedly. You are so young, you think a lot. Xiaomi is not at home, we should take care of you more and favor you. If other juniors, it's their own problem. You don't have to be afraid that it will be difficult for us. There is nothing difficult to do. We all do things with conscience. Xiaomi works hard for the Joe family. We should treat his wife better. Of course, Grandma said that it's not because she doesn't like you to live in Juan's house. Grandma also thinks that your approach is very good. Yesterday, Xiaomi and I also said that if it weren't for Lao Juan's status, we would like to take him to Joe's house for us to live together. There is also a care for the bustling. But, we can't do that now, even if he himself doesn't mind, or Elder Long doesn't mind, there will always be someone who will mind and make a fuss about it, which will make your Grandpa Juan look bad. Grandma, I understand. Chu Xia quickly nodded. I understand these principles. In fact, not only people with his status would taboo such things, even ordinary families would also taboo, not to mention anything else. I guess if he really comes to Joe's house, Aunt Juan will be the first to call. Yes, some children don't respect their elders themselves, but they don't allow others to treat their elders well. Hey, the old lady sighed. Her expression was a little sad. 10 fingers are not the same length. When the children grow up, what? There are all kinds of things. You are young now, and you don't have a deep sense of this, but when you are our age, you will understand that it is a lifelong sin to share with ignorant children.